Welcome everybody to the 2021 Career MCOE's Career Industry Day. We're very happy to have you here. This is our employer panel on the health and medical technology industry. So we have, go here. My name is Greg Friedman. Luis Sorbavia is my co-host. We're running the show today. Your cameras have been turned off. Your mics have been turned off. You can direct message Luis Sorbavia any questions you have. This is for you to gain more knowledge. So if you're interested in medical and you want to know something about Dignity Health, a message Luis. We'll definitely answer your, we'll ask your question as long as it is appropriate. And with that, I need to spotlight you all. Spotlight for everyone. And with that, I will let you introduce yourselves.
Perfect. I'll go first. My name is Thea Brzezinski. I've been with Dignity Health for 3.5 years. I am the Talent Acquisition Director of Southern California, 18 facilities, which also includes Merced. So thank you for inviting us. We want to get a little kernel out there so you can think about healthcare. I would like to also introduce Wendy Kaler, who has an amazing background, and I know that you guys will love to hear her because she's a mentor from me and from everybody. She's just amazing.
Well, thank you, Thea. My name is Wendy Kaler, and I am an infection control consultant for Dignity Health. I've been with Dignity Health for 13 years, but I've been doing infection control for 30 years at other organizations before that. And infection control is a department that most people don't even know is in a hospital. And so I think that what's important, my biggest message to you is that there are things that areas for you to use your talents that are not the obvious ones in healthcare. People know about nurses and doctors and such, but there's a lot of other careers in infection, things like infection control. And my background is actually trained as a microbiologist. So first I was a hospital microbiologist, and my college degree is actually in microbiology. So my first message, just to put out there, an introduction, is that there are a lot of opportunities, and that's why I like being involved in these career days that are available in healthcare that are not the obvious nursing careers.
Awesome. We'll have two more joining us later, and when they do, we'll get them spotlighted and do a quick introduction there. So let's jump right into the questions. That's where we're here. Luis, you want me to get this first one, or you got it?
I was going to ask you, Greg, for some reason on mine, I have them highlighted, pinpointed, but they're in the middle of my screen. I'm not sure if that's maybe a me thing.
I'm seeing them on the right. I have them spotlighted, but they're over.
They're on the right. Okay. So unfortunately, if you want to ask the first one, Greg.
Okay.
Situated.
Right, can drag them along. So tell us about the medical field and some of the top skills or experiences needed with your company.
Okay, so we can kind of spotlight, RNs as well as physicians. I don't know if anybody's interested in physicians. So of course, that's going to be if you decide to become a physician, that's about a 7 to 8 year process with schooling and stuff like that. But there are other professions within the medical frame that we would like to talk about, and that being like medical assistants. There is a huge shortage of medical assistants that are in physician offices. We have that. We have CNAs that are certified nursing assistants, security guards, marketing. These are careers that people don't think about healthcare. Like Wendy said, she was a biotech. I just messed up there.
Microbiologist. That's fine.
Yes. Yeah. And she went into infection prevention, and all the facilities have an infection prevention, and it's critical for us. HR, human resource is another. I mean, I'm a talent acquisition where I get the fun part is bringing individuals into the organization, just like bringing in new hires and onboarding them and seeing them grow throughout their career. And then there's HR that deals with employee relations, as we like to call them, the problem children. So there's so much, so many different fields within different facilities, and you don't realize it.
And so I'll pick up from there. As Thea was saying, there are so many areas that don't even sound like they would have to do anything with medical. We have in our hospitals, we have social workers. So people who are interested in psychology and working with people. We have case managers and social workers who help patients to connect in the community so that when they leave the hospital, they have the best opportunity to be to heal and to get what they need to improve their health. So there's a whole nother side there that's not even technical. So if you're somebody who likes working with people, social workers are needed in healthcare. And obviously during the COVID pandemic that both Thea and I were very involved in, social workers played a huge role to make it, to help the patients and the family members get through a really terrible time in their lives. There's also a lot of technical areas in the hospital that community colleges offer for training programs where you are working in imaging. All the technologies involved in imaging patients. There are specialty programs. So people who are doing CT scans and people who are doing ultrasound. There's lots of opportunities, and those are areas that many community colleges support with getting a certificate that's needed to be able to be working in the hospital. So my background in the laboratory is another option, just so that you know the background to be in the clinical laboratory in the hospital, and that's where we do a lot of diagnostics on the patients to determine their blood, what's going on in their blood work, what's going on as far as infections in their body. That has does take a bachelor's degree in science. And then that takes a year of internship. So for me, it was 5 years, 4-year bachelor's degree and a 1-year internship in a hospital to get my license so that I could work as a microbiologist in a hospital. But there are other that do not require a bachelor's degree for you to be able to work in the laboratory. So there's many different levels depending on what you want, on what level. And many people my biggest suggestion is many people start out as an assistant, a laboratory assistant or a nursing assistant, and they get their feet wet, they get out there and they think, wow, I can go to the next level. So I completely support starting somewhere that's comfortable for you and then moving up. Every bit of this is a journey, and that's what I've done with my career. I started out as a microbiologist, and then after 12 years of working as a microbiologist, I went back to school. So I had a better perspective on what I wanted to do, and I really felt like the stepping stone of one piece at a time rather than biting off the whole thing at once. Really gives you the experiences you need to be able to be confident and to be able to get the next job. Because if you're already comfortable working in that world, you will be much more apt to be accepted to the next level. So nursing assistant to become a nurse, laboratory assistant to become a medical technologist in California. That's another option. And then for me, I took my laboratory background and I went and got my master's degree in public health. So that was years later that I went back into public health and decided I want a master's degree in public health. And I had ideas of what I might want to do with it. My career now, which started 30 years ago, was not what I originally thought I was going to do. And so I just, say to you, just start down the path. And the rest of it comes in time because you need to learn more about what's out there and what suits your skills and your characters and your personality.
Awesome advice. And students out there, the chat is disabled, but if you have a question for them, please, you can message Luis Sobrevilla, and he will ask the questions for you. The next question.
So I know you've kind of mentioned some of these in your guys' kind of intro, but just in general, discuss some of the different positions your company offers. I know you already kind of introduced some, but maybe some other areas or departments that work. I'm sure there's somebody that markets for you, or there's some job that people don't think is within Dignity Health. They think, oh, it's just the medical field, but there might obviously be HR components to it. Or so if you could talk about maybe some different roles that are within your company.
My first thought is when you enter the hospital and you're going into the hospital is patient registration. That's a piece of finance. So a lot of patient registration individuals start with a high school degree. A lot of our facilities have programs that you have tuition reimbursement, where they go into a college, and I think we pay quite a bit for that. It's a great offer, and some of them now are CFOs. So, they start at the very bottom and realize, hey, there's so much opportunity within the facility that I like finance. I can stay with finance. That's one that I think of. I also think of individuals that are in administration, helping the individuals that need clerical. They used to call them secretaries back in the day. They're now called administrative assistants. So that's kind of some of our entry level. CNA is an entry level as well. And I'm hoping when Gloria comes on, she'll talk about the entry levels that you can obtain within nursing and move up. What other ones can I think of and then also IT. We need IT people to help us with everyday computers, computer science, setting up new programs in regards to patients, our logging of our notes and stuff like, little things like that help. So those are things that you don't typically think about.
And I think also I would add, because my position as an infection preventionist feeds into the quality department. I think a lot of people don't realize that everything that goes on in the hospital is reviewed for quality of care. Did we provide good quality of care? And there are a lot of national regulatory requirements now for us to report our outcomes to show that we do provide good care. So there's a whole department of quality in the hospital. We need people who like to do data, who like spreadsheets and numbers. We have people who report into national databases for us. And same thing to just say from the nursing end, there are many people who used to be bedside nurses and now have moved into quality improvement departments in hospitals. So anybody who is thinking, I don't know that I really want to be a nurse, but I would really love to get into the hospital. I would just say nursing is a great place for people to start. So was microbiology for me, but there's so many things behind the scenes that we're doing in our medical records and optimizing our medical record. And like Thea was saying, IT, optimizing of electronic health records and improving patient outcomes. That's a whole different department that most people who visit a hospital never know. We're all there behind the scenes ensuring good quality of care.
There's a lot more to it than just the doctor you see in the room there. So if you're brand new, this is the healthcare industry panel. We have Tia and Wendy from Dignity Health. So glad to have you here.
It looks like Gloria just entered, so I'll be unmuting her and pinning.
Okay, perfect.
So kind of curious, what is an example of a career ladder working for your company? Obviously, you've said there's many different aspects to Dignity Health, but how we all want to move up. Most of us don't want to stay at the very bottom of that career ladder on the minimum wage job. What does it look like for promotion moving up?
I think a lot of us all aspire to do great work. And with that great work comes reward. And a lot of us will come in as employees, I'm going to give patient relations one, where you come in, you're working very close, then you get promoted to supervisor, as well as manager, director. So as you're moving up, you become more of a SMED or expert in the field. So that's one career ladder. Of course, within nursing, there's a couple career ladders. You could start as a new grad, you work your way into your first year of RN, and then you become more of an expert all the way to charge nurse to manager, director, CNO. So those are a couple that I can think of. Same way, majority, that's kind of the structure and how you can work up to that.
And I've seen just a lot of people come in at a basic level of just doing data entry or doing patient relations and move themselves up. And the most important thing is your work ethic, how hard you work. People see you and your quality of the product and your engagement. And many people who came in one career have moved into something completely different because we're always looking for the people who are fully engaged and have, like I said, a good work ethic and are passionate about what they do, and really concerned about patients in the hospital and what we're all about. And that's what we're there for, is the patients. So I would just say that it's really about your work ethic. And I think that's true in most employment. And if you show up and you're involved, you will get noticed. And there are always new areas. I've been doing this in this career for, like I said, over 30 years. And there's always new directions, new departments, new issues that we are always looking for talented people to move in, because we know who they are. We see them. And I always say the cream rises to the top.
That's a good analogy. Because I know for me, myself, I did not start in human resources. I started as an X-ray technician and decided, you know what, I'd rather be where you could actually have the ability to share stories and talk and to individuals. So, that was like a 360.
I was going to check really quick with Gloria to see if you're able to speak. I just want to make sure that you have the opportunity to kind of chime in.
You spotlight her. You don't want to pin her, at least you want to spotlight her if it'll let us spotlight more than two.
I don't have the option to spotlight.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Gloria.
Okay, good morning to everyone. So in terms of career ladder, I would absolutely agree with everything that has been said. And one of the great things about nursing as a profession is that, several years ago, there were the pathways were pretty defined, right? And so it was either emergency department, more ICU, all of those clinical pathways. And so now here we are several years later, and there are nurses that are in informatics. There are nurses that are part of development in terms of product, that are supporting the vendors in terms of that operation. So there are many avenues for nurses. And the other thing is, Thea mentioned CNO, but we also have some nurses who have gone on to be chief operating officers and chief executive officers of the hospital or other health-related organizations. So the field is very wide and is expanding. Seems like every year there's a new avenue.
Gloria, you should be able to turn your camera on as well now. Ashley, if you have a question, you can message it to Luis Sorvilla and he will ask it. Oh, there you are. So nice to see you, Gloria.
Nice to see you.
All right. 4. So what are some of the incentives in working with your company?
Oh, we have so many good incentives. I think of our medical. In some cases, our medical is paid 100%. We have dental insurance, life insurance. We have a 403B. I know you guys are too young to think about retiring, but we're not. So, and we also have tuition reimbursement, which is excellent. There's individuals that have went back to school to get their bachelor's and now are master's, PhD. So there's those are what really sell the organization. Not only that, we do get PTO, which is time off, which is important to recharge that battery.
Lori, do you want to give your job title and kind of what you do real fast?
Sure.
I know we missed introductions.
My apologies. Yes. I am Gloria Carter. I'm the chief nurse exec here at St. Mary's in Long Beach. And I started off, interesting enough, I didn't start off as a nurse either. And I knew I wanted to be in the medical field, but wasn't sure what. So I actually started off as a medical assistant and then just kind of progressed down that path, became an LVN, and then said, you know, like, this is it for you. So you just need to go to RN school. And this is where I landed. And then I started my career in the emergency department and expanded from there.
I know medical, we have a lot of students that want to get into medical. We have a lot of medical class programs here from our junior college and our ROP and even our high school. Really glad to have you here.
Yeah, and it also cascades down to family because I actually have a nephew that's a fireman and my son is aspiring to be a fireman as well.
Okay. The whole public service sector.
Yeah.
This one's you, Luis.
All right. So what could a high school student, so that's kind of our population today, what could a high school student be doing right now to help prepare themselves so they could be a standout working for your company?
I think once we get out of COVID, you could volunteer. That's an excellent way to get started in. There's a lot of programs that are out there that are also like HOSA, which is high school students that are interested in healthcare. That comes to the top of my you could also start as a transporter because that starts as a high school diploma and that you're transporting patients. So that might be a good, and I think Wendy and Gloria will say science in high school, science and math.
I would agree with that, Thea. I also would just add a personal level to that. And, always be the person to raise your hand first versus last, because that's one of the ways that you stand out. Have a yes spirit and try new things. And so while you may have a fear, try it and always be the person to volunteer and be humble. Be humble in everything that you do.
And I would add that some of the things that I would think would help, and like we were talking about volunteering at a hospital or working at entry level as a transporter, I think I would get access to people and ask questions. We call an informational interview, but if somebody's working in the hospital and you were to ask them, I'm really interested in what you do, can you tell me more? So be curious. I think the most important thing is to be curious, be open, keep your eyes open so you see what other people in the hospital are doing, you ask them how they got there, and also learn how to market yourself. Understand that, people really do respond to people who have that confidence to actually know who they are and why you want to do what you want to do. So if you have a reason for why you like doing something, and if you want to ask for help from and information from those of us who are in the profession, step up and do that. That is always rewarded. I have found some, really great, had some great interactions with people who had the courage to just ask us, because we all are here to help and mentor the next generation. So just don't be shy.
And the other thing I will add to that, it's never too early to start a resume. Start building your resume now. Put that together and list all the things that you volunteered. If you have volunteer opportunities, list those on your resume, because that speaks to who you are as a potential person for hiring. So start working on your resume now.
If you have a question, yeah, don't raise your hand. Just message Luis Sorbavia and he will ask it for you, please.
I was going to mention, I love the idea of the resume, even in high school. And I know a lot of times we have workshops or different things to kind of get that resume going. I know for adult ed, sometimes it's also when people work on a resume, they get to see really quick where those gaps are at pretty quickly. They get to see what experiences I have or what I don't have, what either education or things it is to get into the field. I think sometimes it's a good way of like eye-opening to say, okay, maybe I need to do some volunteer work. I need to do an internship, need to join a training program. Just because I am looking at my resume, there's not a lot there. So I agree, definitely for a high school student, it's putting those pieces together, all the things you do within school, volunteer work, team sports, clubs that you're a part of, any of those type of things to kind of put that, hey, I'm not just sitting at home, I'm actually like interacting, I'm building these skill sets of collaborating with others and teamwork. And it's definitely, those are the type of things that you want to kind of work on, like it was mentioned in high school.
Perfect. All right, next question here. Sorry. So what is a misconception about working in the medical field? Hey guys, if you keep raising your hands, we're just gonna kick you out, not let you back in. So what is a misconception about working in the medical field?
Okay, I'm going to punt that one. Wendy, Gloria.
I think one of the things is that while you always want to think the best in individuals, you have to remember in the medical field that we see people when they're most vulnerable. And in that state, they may not present their best self. And so you have to be mindful that while you may have this idea or this idealistic view that, I'm going to come in and I'm going to save everybody. Sometimes that's not possible. But I think you also just have to be mindful that people are coming for help, and that while sometimes they want to be their best self, they're not, and you have to meet them at that level and accept them for that.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Gloria. I would say that I think people really are hoping that what they do makes a difference, and sometimes it doesn't. And it can be frustrating because not everybody wants help. And so sometimes we don't have the impact that we hope. And I just think also from the misconception is that I think that for folks in high school, just as I said earlier, I think you may not know all of the different options of working in the medical field, and that they're not just the most obvious things that you've heard of your life as far as careers in healthcare. They're really vast, and not just nursing or being a physician or being a pharmacist that you've heard about. So I think most people don't realize how many different specialties we have within healthcare.
Okay.
I had a quick question, Greg, that came up. It says, how many years does it take to become a nurse?
Well, so I will tell you all of your life. Because, you become a lifelong learner being a nurse. And so, basically there are 2-year programs, there are 4-year programs, but then after that, it just keeps going because you want to specialize in your field. So core in terms of just getting the actual RN degree can range anywhere for, like, if there's a 2-year program, once you get your prerequisites, and there are 4-year programs that includes that time of you getting your prerequisites. I would say all in all, I would say probably 4 to 5 years would be fairly accurate.
Okay. 4 to 5, not too long, not horribly long.
No, because that includes your prerequisites, the
Okay.
sciences and all the things that were mentioned earlier.
Like you mentioned, you're a lifelong learner, right? So there's
Right.
is no end cap, right?
That's right.
So next question. So two-part question here. What type of transferable skills could you bring from another industry that we could use working for Dignity Health? And the second part, what transferable skills could I learn working at Dignity Health that I could then use in a different career later on? And transferable skills, if students aren't aware, are those ones that are kind of hard to measure. Things like communication, empathy, teamwork, collaboration.
For talent acquisition, we are looking for somebody that has that compassion that comes from, a good example would be individuals that want to work into the food service. They've worked at in and out, as an example, the customer service that could easily come into a organization such as ours that stands here. I also think that you're learning computer skills. I think one thing that I will say is we are now on Google. We were in Microsoft for I don't know how many years. And those are skills that we are now learning. And I will say that definitely some of us have had a learning curve with that. You're going to learn new skills also as you move into Dignity. And some of the other skills that I would say are communication skills. You're communicating on a daily basis with your instructor. You come in, you're going to communicate with your patients daily. So those are some transferable skills that we are looking at.
So what kind of skills would you learn in this particular field? Like for some reason, they're like, hey, I want to get out of the medical field, but I picked up all these skills within this particular industry that I can now take into another role. What are some of those skills that you'll be learning?
I see many avenues. Communication obviously is a skill that you're going to need. So anything that will lead you into a career in terms of where you're communicating and you've perfected that, certainly that would be an avenue. People skills in general, where you want to help people based upon the social determinants of health, or just based upon the social elements that impact our society. That certainly would be another pathway. You could look at philanthropy and join an organization that helps sponsor and medical equipment and selling medical equipment and supplies, or just selling equipment and supplies in general. So there are many avenues depending on which area that you initially started your career in that you could lead to. I know that many of the people in the electronic healthcare record, some of those individuals, they have the option of becoming coders, and it's just a spinoff where they can, have their own business. And so there are many paths, and it really is going to be driven by that individual and their overall drive to further their career.
Excellent. All right,
Sounds good. Thank you.
let me go back here. Sorry. All right. So, how good are you at predicting the future? So, if you had to make an educated guess, what new skill will be needed in your industry in the future? So, how is healthcare medical changing? Where should we be looking at to upskill?
I think behavioral health is going to be key in the next few years. We're already struggling with that piece. I also think there's going to be a nursing shortage. There's already a nursing shortage. Across the healthcare, we're looking at retirements. Unfortunately, the we're all aging, and with that aging goes your experience. So we're going to need to look at different programs. How do we bring in high school students, just as yourselves, get them interested in the healthcare, just to get their foot in the door as well. So there's going to be, we're going to see more and more healthcare in the news and the shortage, and more so than before, I truly believe.
All right.
And
I think
I
one
do,
of the other skills that it's actually relevant right now, and it's actually not taught in nursing school, and looking at things from the customer lens and that patient experience. And so the need for that skill set is really now to learn how to engage with people, because that will help further you in and outside of the healthcare arena. And that's an important piece of looking at patients, not just as patients, but as customers. And so that whole initiative, for which we are measured heavily from regulatory agencies, it's important. That's an important skill. And then also looking at all of the what we call quality measures. Those are not specifically taught in detail, but really learning from that lens, so that when you enter into an organization, that you are further ahead in how to address those matters as you begin to practice.
And I think that what I've found in the younger folks who I've been mentoring and onboarding, that their skills with just keyboarding and word processing and all of the packages that are out there has been very helpful. I'm in the field of quality, and being able to display data and pull data together and be able to look at all the information we have to make better decisions in general. So I just say having those skills and being very comfortable in spreadsheets and display, it's hugely important. And I think that's what you guys, the younger generation, has up on some of us who are still trying to catch up with those packages.
Hey. So time is flying here. We've got about 5 minutes left. So we're going to jump to our last question. If you have any questions, you can message Luis Sobervia and he will ask them. But we're really, if you had one final advice for our participants today, what would it be?
Stay committed, stay dedicated. Don't be distracted by things that may seem a challenge on your journey. Just stay focused, and it will be rewarding for you once you're done.
And I would say start at this point being reflective, as we talked about earlier. Who are you? What do you like? What makes you tick? Which direction do you want to go? Do you think, just to start, is just knowing enough to start someplace and know yourself well enough and start being able to have an awareness of who you are and what you're good at.
and I think the final is, don't be afraid to ask questions. We're here to guide you. And I will say a lot of times that recruiters do guide people and build that relationship. And relationship building is key to success.
Really good points. I would almost, in knowing the things in your roles and hearing you ladies, it seems like having also a good mentor, having someone to guide you, ask those questions, build that rapport with either a senior person or just somebody that can kind of give you kind of like the roadmap in a sense, or at least somebody who's been in the industry who can kind of say, hey, here are the do's and the don'ts. I know personally for me, those things have helped. Anytime you have that mentor person, it really kind of guides you versus going into, in an area where it's like, I don't know what the next thing's in. So it kind of brings up what you said, Tia, with asking questions, building those rapport, those relationships, especially if you want to stay within this industry as a career for many years to come, is just understanding and building that connection.
I want to, students, I want to thank you all for being here. this is being recorded, so we will send out the Zoom link so you can watch it if you came late today. On the screen, we have the whole, on the left is the whole interactive catalog. You should have the link for that. It has a ton of stuff on career exploration. It will have the links in there to the 4 other books. We have one on our post-secondary education and our training programs throughout California. We have a whole book here on health and medical. We have over 90 videos of interviewing professionals across all industries. We do have a fair amount of medical, from massage therapists to OBGYNs to dental to even veterinary medicine is in there as well. So check them out. The videos are relatively short. We find them engaging, and it's a good spot to get started. With that, Luis.
Awesome. We would love to thank you, ladies, for being here today. Appreciate your time. It's a huge impact. I've learned a lot, but I also feel that this is an industry that you can stay and do, and there's so many different roles. Anything with the right STEM, your science, technology, engineering, mathematics, it's going to be around for a bit. So students understanding kind of where those directions, where those jobs are at in the future, not just in the next couple of years, but kind of forecasting what's going to be there and the skills that are needed. But I want to thank you, ladies, for being here. Dignity Health, you came in clutch, Tia. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Appreciate getting the other group in here. And I know we're at the end of the hour, and we want to wish you an awesome lunch and excited for the next time until we have the next opportunity.
Okay.
And we'll be in touch with all of you because, yeah, we'd love to create those connections between Dignity Health and all of our students here. So, yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
would too. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye
one.
now.
Bye.
Bye.